discouraged. So a lot of times things aren't going to work out. The majority of times things aren't going to work out. So how do you not get discouraged? So that's what we're going to go over today. Let's see who's hopping on. Let me share this thing real quick. All right, let's see. So like I said, we're going to talk about how not to get discouraged. I was talking with a couple people just recently, and it seems like everybody had the same problem. Like everybody within the past few days, within the past 7 days, everybody has literally said the same thing in terms of them being discouraged, whether it's, well, I don't want to name names, but basically, people have just been discouraged in terms of what it is they're doing, and they're not getting the results that they want. So let's talk about this real quick. Let's see if I can share this on the page. All right. Can't share it right there. Hold on a second, guys. Let me get this going. Let's see if I can share it here on on this thingamabobber. And then remember, guys, if you have any questions, make sure you ask the questions now. Then I'll come back to them later when I'm done. But it's really, really hard when you're trying to do anything, whether you're trying to market yourself, trying to build something, or hell, just live life. What's going to happen is you will naturally get discouraged as you're doing things. And so, hold on a second. See, sharing the group, sharing the, all right, hold on a second. We've got technical difficulties. Okay, let's see. All right, I think we're good to go. But basically, a lot of people are going to get discouraged as you're trying to do something, especially when you're trying to do marketing. You're going to get discouraged. And what happens is you don't really see the discouragement in other people. So you see everybody else post online, social media, everything that they're doing, everything they've gotten done, everything they've accomplished. And you're like, man, I'm not where I thought I would be. And then you naturally get discouraged. And like I said, I just talked with a few people over the past 7 days in terms of it's the same thing. Like, hey, I'm just not feeling good in terms of the results, whether it's the realtor or music therapist, it doesn't matter. Just talking with a lot of people, and they always feel discouraged about the results that they're getting, or aka not getting. And understand something. Damn near everybody has gone through or is going through the same thing. You need to understand that, because whatever people are posting online, it's not the full story of what's actually happening. And so you have to understand that people have either gone through or are currently going through the same thing you are if you feel discouraged. So let's talk about a simple way to get out of it. It's not easy, but it's a really simple way. Years ago, when I was just trying to get hired as an entertainer, I'm just trying to do restaurant magic. I'm going from restaurant to restaurant, trying to get these gigs. I had to approach the general managers, which I learned really quick, because at first I would walk to a restaurant. I'd be like, hey, where's the manager at? And then they'd say, oh, he's there. So I'd talk to the manager. I'm the greatest entertainer in the world. Bring me in. And just every Friday or Saturday night, and I'll just walk table to table. And the manager was like, well, I'm not the person in charge. You got to talk to the GM. And I'm like, damn it. And so I would finally talk to the GM. The GM would say, no, sorry, we're not interested. We don't have the money. Things like that. I didn't know that restaurants had thin margins, but people constantly said no. It was ridiculous. It did get to a point where I got discouraged, but the only reason I didn't quit is because there was nothing to fall back on. That's all I had to do was just perform. It was either perform or get a job, and I didn't have a job. I didn't want a job. So I had nothing to fall back on. So despite being discouraged, I just kept going anyways. I was just like, damn it. Like it was ridiculous. And you have to understand that everybody gets discouraged. It's just a matter of what you do after you get discouraged. So keep in mind that it's always part of the process. No matter what it is you're doing, it's always part of the process. And, basically what's going to happen is when you try to do things, everything is going to go wrong. And this is why I tell people you got to ignore failures, because everything is going to go wrong. Not some things, not most things. Pretty much everything is going to go wrong, and it's going to keep going wrong nonstop. And so you have to almost become delusional to an extent. In fact, I'll talk about that in just a second. What you're doing when you feel discouraged is you tend to focus on the bad things. You focus on what's going wrong. So understand, remember, everything is going to go wrong. No matter how smart you are, no matter how much you visualize, no matter how much you see in terms of what you're going to accomplish, everything you do to get there is going to go wrong. So your mind cannot focus on everything that's going wrong, because you will get discouraged. You will get depressed. And so your mind just can't go there. That's easier said than done, but it can't go there. What's happening is you tend to compare yourself to others. That's why you get discouraged. And People don't think they're doing this, but trust me, you are. You go on social media, you go on Instagram, you see all these pictures people are posting, vacation, all this sort of stuff. Everyone's posting all this stuff. Sure, maybe they did go on a vacation or whatever, but what you don't see, so here's what you see. You see a quick 10-minute shot of their life. That's all you see. What you don't see is they're going home, sleeping at night, desperately struggling, praying to God, feeling alone, all sorts of stuff. And you don't see that. Nobody posts about that sort of stuff. Well, very few people post about it. And because of that, you feel like you're alone. You feel like you're the only person who's getting discouraged. Like, hey, I'm trying this thing out and it's not working. And so it's like, I remember when I was doing cold emailing in the beginning. So in the beginning, when I was doing the restaurant stuff, I finally switched to corporate market and I'm doing cold email nonstop all day, every day. Man, I'll tell you, if there's something that you want to discourage you, do cold emailing. Do cold emailing, cold calling. That will discourage your ass really, really quick, because what happens is you're reaching out to people. You're trying to market yourself, trying to get business, trying to make money. Nobody's responding to you and you can't figure out what you're doing wrong. You're sitting there cold emailing all day, every day. You're spending all this time. You can't make any money. And you're like, what the hell am I doing wrong? You're reading all these books, stay positive. You're reading all this stuff, watching these videos, listen to podcasts. And for some reason, you're like, I can't figure it out. It's still just not working. And so I was doing that with cold emailing. Same thing with building a personal brand. You build the personal brand. You're sitting there producing content. You're like, damn it, what the hell? I'm not getting any sales. You're trying to spend money on advertising. Like, damn it, nobody's buying the product. And so your focus is just completely wrong. And it's natural though. That's what naturally happens. What you tend to see online is you see people who post, I just made 30 grand in freaking 20 minutes today on a webinar. Oh my goodness. I just made $72,000 on a 60-minute webinar. That's what you see online. What you didn't see is the fact that they were discouraged for 10 years of their life before they made that 70 grand in 30 minutes. That's what you don't see. And so that's why you have to understand that what you see online is what you should essentially ignore. And so just understand that people live fake lives online. Just remember that. People live lives that they aspire to be, not the reality. That's what you have to truly get through your head when it comes to everything online. People are living what they aspire to be, not their current reality. Sure, they're doing things that look fun. They're doing things in terms of their business. It looks like the business is growing and everything, but you do not understand the reality of a situation. For all you know, that entrepreneur could be depressed. You don't know that, especially with an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are great at disguising stuff. So you don't know that sort of stuff. You don't know what they're going home to, what they're going to bed to. You don't know what's actually happening after they turn off the camera, after they stop posting on Instagram. You don't know what's happening. And basically what's happening online is that online, we feel more connected online. Like, it is more connected, but at the same time, people are feeling more alone as well in reality. And so you can just sense this with everybody. And that's why, like, you truly have to understand the difference between online and reality. So just keep that in mind in terms of getting discouraged. Just stop comparing yourself to other people, literally. And then at that moment, you have to change your focus. This is a huge, huge thing. You're getting discouraged because you're focusing on the wrong things. You may know you're focusing on the wrong things. You may say, I know I'm focusing on the wrong things. Negativity. You may know it, but you still have to change your focus. What you know is irrelevant. What you do is everything. I do not care if you know you need to change your focus. The fact is your focus is not where it needs to be. So you change your focus based on what I'm about to tell you in terms of where to change it to, but your brain just moves towards what you focus on. This is why I keep telling people, whatever you believe to be true, it is true for you. Flat earthers, people who believe the world is flat, it is true for them. They believe with 100% certainty the world is flat. They can provide you with all sorts of proof on it. They're like, no, here's a proof and everything. 100% certainty. And it is true for them. So you have to truly understand the way your brain works. Whatever you believe to be true is true for you. That's why you can't let your mind focus on those things. What you ultimately have to do to overcome getting discouraged is you have to become delusional. This is why I keep telling people, if you look at all successful people, like the most successful people, billionaires and everything, you look at them, you'll see that they're practical and delusional at the same time. You have to be delusional to an extent. Not like loony bins delusional, not like they're going to put you in a straitjacket delusional. I mean, if you get in a straitjacket, it's not my fault. Don't sue me. Well, you're delusional, so you're in a straitjacket. You probably can't anyways, but that's a whole other thing. Basically, you got to become delusional. The world doesn't care about your feelings. Just remember that. The world doesn't care about your feelings. Nobody cares. People are going to make fun of you, everything. The world does not care about your feelings. You become delusional to a point where there are two things in terms of that really demonstrate this delusion that I'm talking about. One is that movie Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. It's really, really funny what happens in the movie with the main character, the short dude. Forgot his name again, but basically, this is a small part of the movie, so I'm not ruining the movie for you if you haven't seen it. What happens is the short guy, he appears in the commercial, in the monster commercial. But when he appears in the commercial, it's for a split second, like not even a second, like half a second. So he appears in it, and then a logo pops up in front of his face. So it covers him, like completely covers him. He's all excited in the beginning. He's like, oh yeah, there you are, Sully. Oh, there's my mom. Oh, there. He's excited to see all his friends and everyone in the commercial. Then he pops up in the commercial. This huge logo pops up in front of him, blocks him out. And so the Sully guy, his friend, looks at him. He's like, I'm sorry. And then the main character, he's like, I was in a commercial. Like he was happy as all hell for being in a commercial for like half a second. It covered his face. You just got to watch it to see what I'm talking about. He was delusional. And that is why, or that's essentially what I'm talking about. You got to be delusional to that extent where everything bad is happening around you that can get you discouraged, but because you're delusional, you ignore it. Another perfect example of this is that show, The Office. For those of you guys who have seen the show, The Office, there's the boss in the office, the manager, and he is just insanely delusional. Like, I mean, it's just so funny, it's ridiculous. But he's delusional to an extent where he thinks he's the best boss ever. So that's the thing. He thinks he's the best boss ever. And a lot of people, they kind of just make fun of it and everything like that. So you just got to watch the show. But that's the type of delusional aspect that I'm talking about, to where it doesn't even make sense. Like, it literally doesn't make sense. If you look at the reality, people are going to say, nah, I mean, this person should be discouraged. Like, look, everything's failing in his life. But if you switch to being delusional, then hey, you're good to go. And at that point, you can keep doing things. And I think the only reason I got to this point is because, like I said in the beginning, when I was doing restaurant magic, I got denied so many times it was stupid. It was ridiculous. I'm pretty sure I went through damn near all the restaurants in Colorado Springs. Like, I contacted all of them, and I was going door to door, restaurant to restaurant, taking the bus because I didn't have a car at the time, taking a bus to each restaurant. Everybody kept saying no. And in the beginning, it hurts. Like, in the beginning, you're like, damn. And especially when it happens over time. I'm not talking about like a week or 2 weeks. I'm talking about months, years. When it happens like that long, you're like, what the hell? And so what happened is I became numb to it. And so when you become numb to it, you become delusional to it, and you become delusional to a point where it just doesn't matter. It's like, all right, 1 million people said no. One of them said yes. You're like, yes, I knew it worked. And that's what happened when I was doing restaurants and I was trying to get restaurant gigs. I go restaurant to restaurant. Everyone said no. When someone said yes, just one of them said yes. Yeah, we'll bring you in. I'm like, yes. That's it. I'm making it. David Copperfield, move over. Benji Bruce is coming in. I just booked one freaking restaurant. I'm thinking I'm going to freaking dethrone David Copperfield. But that's a delusion that you want to operate at. That's what I would do. And so I did the same thing with cold emailing. I'm cold emailing. Everybody's saying no, or nobody's answering freaking months on end. I felt like it's not going anywhere. Then I got just one gig out of the thousands of people I contacted. And here's what I did. I was like, it works! Cold email works! Like, that's literally what I was thinking. I was like, oh, snap, yes! This stuff works! But it doesn't make sense. Like, if you actually counted the number of people who said no versus the one person who said yes, you should be discouraged. You should literally look at, damn, I contacted freaking 20,000 people and one person said yes. That would naturally discourage anybody, but you have to become delusional to where it doesn't. You naturally say, damn, I contacted 20,000 people. One of them said yes. Yes. Like that's literally all it is. It sounds crazy, but that's what actually needs to happen inside of your brain. When people ask me about failures, like, what are the biggest failures in your life? I really, really have to think about it because I do not remember them. It's not that they didn't happen. I've just become so numb to them. I've damn near gotten rid of them in my mind. Like it literally doesn't matter to me anymore. It's like something doesn't work. I'm like, well, all right, whatever. And just keep moving on. It's like, whatever. That's what literally has to happen. You're going to get discouraged and you have to use that as practice. Use it as practice for something bigger because when you get bigger, more things are going to go wrong. Whatever's happening right now inside of your life in terms of why you're discouraged is nothing compared to what's going to happen when you actually start accomplishing things. And so you have to assume that whatever's happening now is simply practice for what's about to happen. So it's like, I remember the first time that I got a dispute online. I'm selling the product online and someone just did a dispute. I mean, they didn't ask me for a refund, nothing. They just went to their bank and said, hey, I didn't say he could charge me that, he could charge this or whatever, right? And I was pissed. I was like, what the hell? I'm pissed. I'm freaking the hell out. Like, literally, I'm just freaking out. What the hell? Someone downloaded my damn product and asking for a refund. What the hell? I'm pissed off. And it was because I wasn't used to it. It was the first time it happened. Now, when it happens and some idiot does a bank fraud and basically says, I'd never purchased this. Now, when someone does, I'm just like, all right, well, here's his IP address. Here's this. Here's that. Yes, he did purchase it. All right, cool. Bam. You're not going to win that case. That's literally what I do now. And so you have to think the same thing with getting discouraged, that whatever's happening now is simply practice for what's about to happen when you get bigger. It's like I said, the problems you have now is nothing compared to what's about to happen to you. So just understand that it's practice. You can't really depend on a support group either. So I know technically you can have a support group, but you don't depend on a support group, because what happens when you can't hang around them anymore? Like, what's going to happen? You go back to your everyday life. And so you have to think, what's going to happen when you can't hang around them? Of course, you want to hang around positive friends and all that. But when you're not around them, when you're alone, what happens? And that's where the rubber meets the road. It's not what you do in front of the camera. It's what happens behind the scenes where everything actually occurs in your life. It's not what you do around friends. It's not what you do around anyone. It's not what you post online. It's what actually happens in your life. And so if you're posting stuff online, you're trying to do all this stuff, you're hanging around certain people, you feel good around certain people. Then when you go back home, they're not there, which is where you spend most of your time at anyways, home. They're not there. Now what happens? Now you just get discouraged once again. And it only takes a small moment, like one little moment, for you to be discouraged, for you to do something crazy. And so that's why you don't want to just depend on friends or a support group. You have to figure this out yourself in terms of, how do I get out of being discouraged? So the first things first, you got to change your focus. You got to basically become delusional. I truly, truly mean that. I do not mean in terms of like a funny delusion. I mean literally delusional, literally to a point where if you were to look at the reality, anyone should naturally be depressed and discouraged. But because you're delusional, you're like, I contacted 20,000 people. One of them actually responded. Because you're literally delusional, you're like, yes, yes. That's literally what you do. And so you just got to build up that tolerance of being discouraged. And this is why you want to do more, because when you do more, you're going to fail more. You're going to become numb to that failure. So the less you do, the less you're going to the less experience you're going to have. So if you're sitting there doing things, you're marketing yourself, or let's say you're not doing things. Let's say you decide, you finally get up the courage to start spending money on advertising, or you get up the courage to start doing outreach, cold calling, cold email, door to door, whatever it is. You get up the courage to start doing stuff. Then you do it. Then it doesn't work, which 99.9% of the time, it won't. You do it, it doesn't work. Now you're like, damn. Now you're discouraged. You only did the one thing and you're discouraged. You're like, damn. Whereas if you say, you know what, I'm going to do that. So let me do some outreach. All right. I'm going to do some advertising. All right. I'm going to keep doing outreach. And you just keep doing it. It doesn't work. You're like, let me do it again. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. You just keep doing it over and over and over again. You keep failing. Eventually you learn from it. You learn in terms of the failures. And then eventually you realize like, hey, you just get used to the failures. You're just like, all right, whatever. And that's what happens over time. You ultimately want to detach from things like that. And this is why I think I've detached from rewards as well. Mostly because rewards, it can have a similar effect in terms of it won't get you discouraged, but success, it makes you complacent, which is why I've ignored both success and failures. So when I fail, I ignore the failures. It literally, to me, it's not even a failure. It's like a non-event. Literally, like, so there's a chair, my regular chair over there that I sit down throughout the day because it's just more comfortable. And so I move that chair and I put this stool over here when I'm doing these lives. It is a non-event for me to switch out the chairs. It's not an event. It's not something I register in my brain. It's just something I do. It's just, all right, let me just move out the chair. That's how success and failure basically needs to be, especially failure. When something fails, it's a non-event. It doesn't even register in your brain. Good, bad doesn't even register. It's not there. And then with success, you can register if you want, but you can't let it go overboard because then you're going to get complacent. You're like, I'm the bomb. And then you get complacent and you do nothing. But that's a whole other topic. What you have to do is you have to change your focus. You have to be really careful about what you feed your mind, and you got to think bigger picture. So the way you stop being discouraged is you think big picture in terms of your mission, your vision, in terms of understand that this won't matter. When you are about to die, when you're on your deathbed, this moment in time will not matter. And so you have to truly understand, think bigger in terms of legacy you want to leave, the mission that you're on. When you think from that perspective, it's impossible for you to get discouraged because you're thinking, all right, I tried cold calling, I tried cold emailing, it's not working. You're getting discouraged because your thinking is too small. Your thinking is focused on that cold calling or that cold email is too small. But when you think bigger picture, you think, all right, when I'm 90 years old, am I going to be like really thinking about that? Absolutely not. It's not going to matter. It's not going to be an event to me. And so you have to start thinking bigger in terms of what it is you're trying to do, the mission you're trying to accomplish. You have to become obsessed with the mission. You have to literally, one of my favorite books is The Hypomanic Edge. I forgot who it's by, but he basically talked about people like Andrew Carnegie, all these successful people. And he talked about how they pretty much are delusional too. But the key thing he talks about is each and every one of them feels like they were on a mission from God to accomplish something. And that is why they were able to accomplish such big things. And they felt like they were put here by God to do that thing. And I don't mean, so there's religious people who say, okay, God, this or whatever, God, give me strength. Then there's Andrew Carnegie, who's like, no. I'm not talking about religion like that. I'm talking about like Jesus type, like he believes he's Jesus type thing. That's what I'm talking about. People who are religious don't believe they're Jesus. People who accomplish things like Andrew Carnegie believe they are. That is why he's able to do what he does. That is why he's able to go through everything, discouragement, everything, because he believes he's on a bigger mission that no matter what happens, he has this thing to accomplish. That's the difference. That's how you don't get discouraged. You believe you're on this big mission. This is one of the things, I don't know if I made a video on it or I'm going to make a video on it, where I talk about your goals, where you don't want to say certain things to people because they're going to think your ass is crazy. If you believe you're Jesus, if you're like, I'm on a mission, I got to accomplish this thing, people are going to think your ass is crazy. You do not say that. You just use those thoughts to help you get to where you want to be. If you start thinking the way everyone else thinks, you will get discouraged because once again, that's reality. You need to start thinking like Andrew Carnegie and all these people in terms of, I'm Jesus. I'm Jesus. I got a mission to accomplish. And of course, if you say stuff like that to people, they're going to get offended. Like, dude, you shouldn't be making fun of religions like that. They're going to get offended. Who cares? They get offended. You freaking change the world. So it doesn't matter. And so you have to understand that if you're going to overcome being discouraged, you have to start. It starts and ends with you feeling like you're on a mission. That's what happens. People think like, well, what's my purpose? I can't find my purpose. You don't find a purpose in life. You create one. You make one. There's no such thing as you're finding a purpose. There's no such thing. You will never find your purpose. You just decide on one. You say, all right, my purpose in life is to be the best freaking VR, AR person on the planet. And then bam, you go learn VR, AR, and you go contact Google, say, hey man, I've got the best stuff. You contact Facebook, I got the best stuff. You decide on what your purpose is going to be. And then you feel like you're on a mission to make that thing happen. That's how you don't become discouraged. What you have to do is you have to feel like, you have to kind of create movement, momentum. You have to feel like you're moving forward. The reason why you're getting discouraged is because you feel like you're jumping up and down. You feel like you're just in one spot, that no matter what you do, you're just in a hamster wheel. You're running in circles. You're not actually going forward. That is why you feel discouraged. And then in order to get out of that, you shift your focus, becoming delusional, focus on your mission, and understand that everything else, everything that people are posting online, anything that people say about you, anything, it means nothing. Because when you're 90 years old, you're not going to think about it. You're not going to care about it. The only thing you're going to think about is what you actually accomplished, the legacy that you're leaving behind. That's the only thing you focus on. And when you do that, everything around you changes. Everything inside of you changes. And so when things aren't going wrong, you just dissect the real problem. That's what you ultimately have to do. The reason why you're discouraged is because you're either not doing the right things or you're not doing those things right. And more than likely, it's because of you. It's because of the invisibles that's going on inside of your brain, like procrastinating, the self-doubt, the discouragement, all that sort of stuff that's happening inside of your brain. As you're trying to build the things. So all you're really doing in the beginning, you figure out like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Then, hey, am I doing this thing right? Then you have to get out of your own way by being very aware of what's going on inside of your brain. This is why you simply say, whatever I believe to be true is true for me. That's why you truly have to believe that sort of stuff. And so you pay close attention to what's going on inside of your brain. This is why I tell people, like, you want to assume that your initial reaction to anything is wrong. Whatever you think, it's wrong. Like your initial reaction to something. When someone tells you something, you react a certain way, like your intuition does not work unless you've mastered a skill. Your intuition is wrong unless you've mastered that skill. And so that's why in the beginning you assume that whatever thought pops into your brain, it's wrong. When someone tells you, all right, if you're going to be marketing yourself, you got to start doing some cold emailing. You got to start reaching out, doing some cold calling. And your initial reaction is, I did that before. It doesn't work. That's your initial reaction. Your initial reaction is absolutely wrong because you haven't mastered the skill to actually have a good intuitive response to that type of thing. And so assume that you are wrong. When you assume that, you start listening more and more to people. You're much more willing to change things, to adjust, and you stop blaming everything else except yourself. And so you have to assume that you cannot trust your own beliefs. You can't trust your own beliefs until you actually start making things happen. And so just assume that inside of your brain. You also have to understand that you're probably not giving it enough time to work. The reason why you're discouraged is because you think that this thing is going to happen in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, hell, even a year. You don't realize how long it's going to take. You have to understand it's going to take 10 years, at least 10 years. You have to get that through your head. And the only way to fast track this thing is to get a mentor. That's the only way to fast track it. Like you get a mentor, pay for programs. It's the only way to fast track this stuff. But you're just not giving this enough time to work. And this is why everyone says the dangers of 5G. Like everyone's talking about the dangers of 5G and like everything going faster. It's because when you have instant gratification, your brain, it's no longer used to the delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is literally what you need for success. Literally. That is the thing you need to create, the thing you have to master to become successful at anything you want, no matter what it is. And when you see the instant gratification on your phone, all that sort of stuff. You post a picture, poof, likes, instant gratification. When you see all that, then it is training your brain to do the opposite of what you need to do to become successful. And so that's why you have to truly understand it's going to take your ass 10 years. Guaranteed it's going to take you 10 years. No matter how smart you are, no matter how ambitious you are, it will take you 10 years to get to where you want to be. And so get that through your head in terms of how long it's going to take. This is why they say persistence is key. This is why there's that quote of Steve Jobs where he said, he was sitting down, he's like, you know, they say that persistence is the key to success. And it really is, because it's so hard that any rational person would give up. And it's very true. It's so hard that if you are rational, you will and should give up. But remember, you are delusional, so you do not give up. To you, you're just delusional. Like everything fails, a rational person would give up. They should give up. If everything keeps failing for freaking 9 years of your life, you're an idiot to not give up. But like he also said, it's the crazy ones that change the world. And so you have to be delusional to where 9 years it's not working and you're just delusional. You're like, well, eventually it's going to work. It's a get rich or die trying type of mindset. It's a matter of, all right, maybe I'm 15 years old. I want to be rich. You're doing stuff for years. You hit 25. Benji says it's going to take 10 years. You're 25. Still doesn't work. You're like, damn it. All right, maybe another 10 years. You're 35. Still doesn't work. 45. Still doesn't work. You're freaking 85 years old. Still doesn't work, but you're still going at it. You get rich or you die trying. That is the delusional state you have to operate in. When you operate with that delusional state, you cannot become discouraged because you're on a mission, you're delusional, so you're focusing on what you need to focus on to accomplish your mission despite everything that's happening. You just revisit your vision daily, you change your focus, you're on a mission, and that's how you don't become discouraged. All right, so let's see if there are any questions. So let's see. I already said I suck at disguising things. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people disguise everything. So let's see. You said, my problem is I spend too much time on apps and getting everything to work that I'm not reaching out to events. Yeah, so in terms of things like that, usually you're spending time on this thing. That's actually normal. A lot of people waste their time on this thing when they should be doing this thing. And that's why I tell people, go buy that book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, because it really does focus your mind. Ultimately, what you're doing is you just say, what's the one thing that's going to actually move the needle in my business? It's going to create that momentum, create that movement. What's that one thing? And then you understand what that one thing is. And then you spend all your time doing that one thing, and you spend as little time as possible doing everything else. That's what you have to do. It's really hard to do, but that's what you have to do. This is why they say, like, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, because it's true. Everything you need to do is simple, but not easy. It's one of the things where I said the two most dangerous words possible are I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, and I know. Those are the most dangerous words possible, because I can say, hey, focus on this one thing. Like, this is the one thing you got to focus on. You're like, I know. Okay, so did you do it? Well, I mean, I got to do this. I got some errands to run. Okay, exactly. That's my point. What you know is irrelevant. I know are the two most dangerous words you could ever possibly imagine. So stop saying those words. It just doesn't matter what you know. See, Ross said, what about adjusting what you're doing along the way so you don't miss out on data and what might work better? So I mean, you're definitely going to adjust along the way. I'm not saying you don't adjust. I'm saying it's more along the lines of, you just keep pushing no matter what. Like, everything fails, you're learning from what's not working and you're adjusting as you go, but that doesn't mean you're giving up. So yeah, I mean, you're always adjusting, of course. Let's see. Ari said, I can't get Pipedrive to work properly. I can't get Yesware to work properly. Can't figure out how to make my videos better. And the list goes on. I'm thinking about hiring somebody to do all this. Yeah, that's what's going to happen nonstop. I mean, no matter what happens, your CRM's not going to work. The email, website, all this stuff's not going to work. Like I said, 99% of what you do is not going to work. It's not going to turn out the way you thought. That's why things take longer than you thought. That's why we sit there and we're like, all right, today I'm going to do this. And then before you know it, freaking 6 hours go by. You've only gotten one thing done. And so you just have to understand that most of what you do is not going to work, and you just become numb to it the more you do it. You do more, that way you get practice in terms of failure, so you become numb to that failure. All right, cool. I already said I'm the mentor. Cool, perfect. Good choice. Good choice. All right. Let's see. To do every failure is one step closer to success. Yep, exactly. All right. So we are good to go today. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're good on all the questions. Yes, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.